to the Gunners Club. You're here with Gunner and with Dixie. How are you, Dixie?
God save the king.
Now, have you ever seen a scary movie or seen a scary piece of theatre?
Oh, yeah.
Go on.
It was as if a candelabra came from the heavens.
Oh, Phantom of the Opera?
No, it was a dinner show.
Go on.
Liberace. I think the candelabra fell off his piano.
You've always had a thing for Liberace. Now, I was lucky enough to see Woman in Black at His Majesty's in Perth this week. Now, I've got to tell you, this piece was billed as terrifying in capital letters with one or more exclamation points. Now, for me, that means I'm really ready for some spine-tingling scariness. So I bought my ticket. I bought a really good seat, and actually I was in a dress circle right close to plumb middle. And I was prepared to be frightened, amazed and shocked. This was billed as well as a Gothic horror. So Gothic horror basically means that something scary is going to happen, right? And it's in the backdrop of Gothic style architecture.
It certainly happened in Wuthering Heights. There's a theme of revenge, somebody's been spurned, and the horror is more haunting. So if you take something chilling away with you, then it'll pay off.
And I think you're right, it was sort of in that vein as well. So you're expecting the mists from the moors and the marshes, and you're expecting an island where you're cut off by the flow of the tides for several hours per day, a place where there's plenty of creaks and bangs and jump scares and things left to the imagination. Now, I bought this ticket really because John Waters is playing, and I've seen John Waters on the stage before. I've seen him play The Life of John Lennon in Through a Glass Onion in Ballarat, so a similar sort of theatre to His Majesty's, and it was wonderful. He's got a great voice, he's got a great stage presence. I mean, even as a child, he was playing in play school, I think for about 18 years. And because he's English, and also because his sidekick, Daniel McPherson, you might have known him through Neighbours, has played in England and has lived in England, rest assured the accents are spot on. So that's something which can really take you out of the reality. Now, this show has only got, at most times, 2 actors. And occasionally, of course, there's a woman in black. I'm not giving away too much by saying that there's a monster under the bed. But by saying that there's a monster under the bed, I'm also saying that maybe the plot itself is basically as basic and as scary as me saying, oh, look out on the way to bed tonight when you turn off the lights because there's a monster under your bed. Now, for me, jump scares are fantastic the first 2 or 3 times that you get it. And in the first act, we're on a regional train. We're told that we've caught the train from a major train port in London, and then we've had to step off for a second line and onto a very parochial third line. And it's there that we have the play of the shadows, we have the noise effects, and we have the jump scare, and we think, right, this is really going to be something fantastic. Now, I remember, because I've still got it on my phone, at the end of the first act, texting to a friend of mine who was in the stalls, this is just wonderful, and thinking, when this comes to Melbourne, I'm thinking about going to see this play yet again. John Waters is marvellous because he tells a story of someone who's challenged to tell the ultimate ghost fable to children. And he becomes quite annoyed by that, and it provokes the psychological trauma in him. And it's a reason why he hires the actor, who is played by Daniel McPherson, to recount his story for him. He's got to tell this story to someone, he's got to divulge it to someone, so he's psychologically free of this burden. And so, in fact, what happens is that the actor plays the person who John Waters was, and John Waters, in his own story, takes on all of the character actors and does it fantastically. So we've got, on stage, we've really only got a tatty curtain, we've got a bucket, which of course is kicked to maximum sound effect, and we've got a rack of clothes, and the clothes are really what becomes the character. And so John Waters puts his characters on, and he'll play the different roles that are required, and does it beautifully. You believe at times that you're on a horse-drawn carriage. You believe at times that you're on a train. You believe at times that you are actually in, let's say, a solicitor's office, and you're doing the work.
Were you in Yorkshire? Is that where you thought you'd be?
No, we weren't in Yorkshire. We were up somewhere vaguely north.
Can I tell you the scariest horror stories I've heard, the Celtic ones, are actual stories that took place in the Hebrides or Outer Hebrides, the Western China Isles of Scotland, where people would go as one man and his workmate to a remote lighthouse, and they'd keep it fueled because there weren't electric in those days.
Sure.
Now, happenstance actually happened that a wave would come and kill one of them. And of course, they'd retrieve their mate, find them they're dead, and then do everything they could to pack them up so they'd be eternally cold, so that in 6 months' time when they're relieved, they'd be exonerated of the murder. But the evidence is always there for them, whether it be negligence or whether the tool that's going to put the rope around them and the slow descent into madness. I could imagine that that's the hauntingness he was looking for.
Yes, I think it was. So this is based on a book. The play that originally ran is the second longest running play in the West End in London. So it's had really quite some success. The book itself is still in the current curriculum, I understand, for high schools in Britain. God knows why, because from the film I really can't make head nor tail of that. Not only that, but there's actually been a sequel to this story written by the same author. Now, when I say that I was expecting something scary, when you've got terrifying in capital letters with exclamation marks, you're really bracing for something fantastic to happen. Come the second half, I'm waiting for the story to progress and to understand that there really is something more to it than just, oh, there's a monster and the monster's under your bed and the monster's got a reason for being driven, for doing what it does. Now, we would see this woman in black a few times. I understand if you want the best experience, go and buy the tickets in the stalls or downstairs. Don't go for the dress circle or the upper dress circle, because you won't see that woman in black as much. And really, that's really what the whole punchline is to the film. The moments where we did see her, of course, there was shrieking, there was a magnification of noise. But how is that scary? I think that audiences simply have moved on. I think that plots have become a lot more clever. I think people have become a lot more complex. And it's not enough to allude to things through shadows. Now, there was a curtain which divided the front of the stage from the back of the stage, and there was a door which was kept locked for most of the time. Now, as they say, if in a film you see a pistol or in a play and it's put on the table,
Chekhov's gun.
what's going to happen with Chekhov's gun?
The drama is going to centre around it eventually.
Yeah, the gun will go off. So if you see at the front of the stage a door, what do you think is going to happen with the door?
Postman will put a letter through it.
Well, eventually it's going to open, isn't it? And then once it opens, if there's a curtain on stage, the man is going to venture behind the curtain.
Yep.
Now, there was a lot of fun behind the curtain, let me tell you. Because of the lighting, it wasn't quite translucent. At times, you really were with him reading out the tombstones. But what's scary about reading out tombstones and reading that this person was born on this date and died on, it's indecipherable what date this person died? I don't find that scary. It doesn't add a lot of atmosphere to me. One thing I thought that did aid to the plot was he was loaned an imaginary dog. Okay, so to us the dog existed, and the dog would react when there was a haunting or something grave happened. I sort of can understand that, because there's at times where I've taken comfort as well in having a pet about, and it's something else which adds to your imagination. Now, to dress the stage, really they had a fog machine, they had the curtain, they had some cutouts, and they had a doorway there, a rack of clothes and a bucket, and 2 actors, at most 3. This is not a very expensive thing to stage, although with theatre, it's always paying the licence, isn't it? It's paying the licence for the show, because a lot of that goes off to that, and paying the actors. The actors earned every penny. The actors really are fantastic. If you want to see acting at its best in Australia, go ahead and see it, because I know what the experience is like when you join a theatre company, which I've done, and you go and see some shows that some of them frankly are so amateurish, and you think, oh, I really wish that I hadn't gone to see it. But if you're expecting something to make the hairs stand on your neck, to make your loved one draw a little bit closer to you, or if you're looking for something that'll make you go home and think, wow, this is really preying upon my mind, this is not the show for it. In fact, when I came home, what preyed on my mind was, how infantile is this script? How childish is this, and how direct is this? It's a shame, because the acting was fantastic. But David Stratton, the famous Australian film critic, once
always
wrote...
gets bullied.
Well, he once wrote of John Waters that he's been in more bad films than most people have been in films. So
So looking at a winter solstice coming up, so that'll be always 6 months from Christmas in
Yes.
Australia. This is not the thing to mark the winter solstice.
if you're after a good scare, this certainly is not for you. If you're after just some great acting and you're prepared for some passable entertainment, go ahead and see it. And if you like what you see with us, like and subscribe, and we'll join you for more adventures.
See you again.
See you soon.